Guys, this is going to be a qualifying match for WCS Season 2. I want to give a big shout out to Dezor_ joining us in chat. I know that's not his proper name, but that's why I love calling him. I haven't seen him some time, and I just want to say hello, my friend, and all you other wonderful people who have stuck it through the broadcast so far. Sadly, you're now stuck with my solo cast, as Zombie Grub did have to take off, but again, one of these two players will qualify into Challenger League, and you'll see more of them throughout this season of WCS. So let's get into this. Spawning in the top right corner of the map, it's going to be the green Terran player from AT Gaming, uThermal. I remember once upon a time when he was on Lowland Lions. This young buck caught my eye. He's a pretty talented player, but his opponent equally good. No longer on Mouse Sports, but now on Vega Squadron, the red Zerg player Hope. Now, it is worth noting, these are two players, these are the most unlikely players you'd expect to see in this or the qualifying match. You know, you're expecting to see the big names, Yoda, Todd, the Muslim, and they're all heading towards that way. We don't know who's going to qualify yet. Todd is one of the other people in a qualifying series, but his game hasn't started yet at the time of me casting this, so I couldn't tell you who's playing. But the point is, Hope and uThermal are very well known to me because I see them on the regular. They play in weekly Go for StarCrafts and Zotac Cups in whatever tournament they can sign up for, and it's really nice to see both of them here because I, as a sort of community caster, have seen them countless times, and this may be the first time some of you are hearing of either of them. Now, I don't want to overhype them. These guys are not exactly the next Jockshi or the next Lenok by any means, but they are still really, really freaking good, and I expect nothing less than good games, because on top of this, and I've said this before in StarCraft 2, the best matches to cast and the most fun ones to watch are the ones where players are evenly matched. Sometimes it's nice to get hyped up and you hear Jaedong's playing a game and you're like, hell yeah, but then he's playing a Bronze League player in an open tournament, you're like, well, that game was kind of lame. But no, not here, not today. Hope and uThermal have squared off before, and this won't be the last time they see one another, but this will be one of the most important times of this year that they fight each other. I can't stress that enough, because once qualifiers close, you're pretty much done. You gotta wait till the next season of WCS, and there's nothing worse than to your career than sitting down and being in the background waiting, practicing, and training. So I wish both of these players luck with the longest introduction I think I've ever done. The SCV intentionally hiding out here? I think he's just waiting to build the command center, but he didn't want to get caught by any lings that might be coming out very early. First Reaper coming across the map, and a second one to follow suit. The big question will be whether uThermal goes for 3 or not. The one thing I do like about uThermal's playstyle, first off, is he's one of the few players I've ever seen make Marine tank work in recent days. And I don't mean like this is a strategy he does go to, but it's nice to see someone can actually make that happen. But beyond this, he's always up to date with all the metas, or the current meta of the game. I've never really seen him try and go for any stupid builds, so to speak. He's always been able to make the right moves mechanically. But not going to go for that fancy third. Instead, the factory is going to be built and the faster reactor will come down. So Hellions will be out a little bit sooner. I did miss First Blood over there. There's a ling that did pop off. So we'll pretend that the next thing that dies is First Blood. Back in solo cast mode, I got to actually pay attention to the game like 10 times more. But here comes that second Reaper. They can trade out with the Queen for a little bit. uThermal has actually, or rather, Hope's not started a third Queen right away. This could be a bit problematic if he doesn't drag that other one down. But with the Lings not dying, it means that the Queen's probably not as nearly in danger. And it's worth noting, too, this is... I want to talk again about just how evenly matched I think you guys even think these are. Oh, that Reaper gets away with one shot left. The bets for this series are closed at this point. Well, we've got 700 bets on Hope taking it 2-0, 673 on Hope taking it 2-1, 342 on uThermal, and another 493 on uThermal taking it 2-1. Or sorry, the first one was 2-0. But the point is, we see pretty even spread of the bets on this matchup. And today, honestly, we haven't been reading them out because they've been very one-sided. Like Todd taking a series 2-0 had 2,000 bets into it type thing, whereas everything else is not quite the same. And either way, the Reapers do need to get a scale off and check the gases. This is something that's been a little bit devoid of information for the time being. It's a bit scary trying to couch a Zerg player going for their gases, because oftentimes they'll put them at the natural, assuming you won't scale at the main, and then it looks like 4. You never know that it's only just 2. And Reaper will get popped off there, and I said the next thing that died
First Blood
would be making up for First Blood. The other Reaper does get up here to scout, though, and this is kind of key. Again, checking the gas timings is really critical. You want to know whether it's going to be 2 gases, whether they're investing in Banelings. Maybe they only went for the 100 gas for speed and they completely pulled off of mining, as Hope kind of is I don't know, taking a lesser gas. Can the Reaper get out of here? Ooh, body block! Yeah, he'll get out of there. Could kill the creep tumor, maybe? Probably not. Gonna keep this back for the time being. You unfortunately lose a lot of effectiveness with that Reaper dying. He uses it for scouting information instead of pairing with the Hellions. What this takes away from uThermal's follow-up push is uThermal can still dart around the map, sort of engage with Lings, maybe poke around at the Queen a little bit, but unfortunately, it removes the ability to really kill Queens. You need the Reapers for that, to soak the hits on the Queens, spiking in damage a little bits here and there. But yeah, let's go claim the Watchtower for the time being. We do have Stim coming up behind this, so it's not even a question of whether uThermal's going to do mech or not. And I gotta be honest, uThermal's one of those players who I've seen do mech in the past, but more often than not we do see bio out of him. And this Overlord's so nicely positioned, actually sees everything here. Running away. Actually, that was perhaps a bit of a mistake. This Overlord should die with 4 Marines giving chase to it. Hope probably didn't want to sacrifice this one so early. You know, he saw the information, should have just backed out afterwards. A minor loss, but nothing too crazy. Lair coming up pretty quick here, though. Third base has been established while this is going on. And with the Queens and the Creeps spread, uThermal doesn't really have the potential to push in here and knock it down. I do like the +1s pairing up with the Stim Pack, though, and combat shields will be started shortly after, I imagine, but this is kind of interesting. We saw Ryung do this a lot during these WCS America qualifiers. uThermal appears to be the only other Terran player we see mimicking this. You put the engineering base and part of the wall off, and what this accomplishes is twofold. One is, you know, it gets the wall up a little bit quicker. You're sometimes worried about getting that 6-minute wall down in time, but it also gives it a little more HP. Now, the biggest con to this is it puts your 2 very important tech researching buildings on the front lines, and if you never get to that level 3 weapon upgrades, chances are you're never going to beat a Zerg player. There's very few games where you see 2-2 or 2-1 be the determining factor of the game, but it does happen from time to time. Don't imagine it'll happen here on Frost, though. These guys looking like they just want to play towards that more macro game. Yeah, the Baneling Nest is coming up too. This is actually kind of key. There's a lot of players who they'll go for the Baneling Nest pretty quick, but you only really need 4 Banelings for the follow-up push to the Hellions. Or, well, I'd say 4 to 6 is more like safe, if controlled correctly. And additionally, you have to engage in creep. But because uThermal hasn't shown a lot of aggression, and his Hellions haven't cleaned up many creep tumors, and he hasn't really dived for drones or anything, it's not as necessary that he got that up super, super fast. Hellions gonna let the drone go by? Not cancel the base? What? Now the hatchery's gonna start building, and they actually don't have the firepower to kill that. Go figure. Double drops are heading up towards the north, though. Hope will see this. He's got really nice Overlord spread on top of his creep, so this isn't gonna catch him off guard by any means. But the Hellions are unfortunately not going to be providing that secondary attack. Normally you'd love to have to either distract the Zerglings or abuse the Zerglings as they are distracted. 2 Hellions are going to go down, unfortunately, to these Lings. Medevac still full. Gotta back away from this. I mean, the Hellions are nice, but they don't have the angle to really engage this. Focus right down on top of the Banelings, though. uThermal with the control. Can lift up out of this if it gets too hairy, but all the Banelings taken care of means he can fight these Zerglings. 1-1's kicked in for both players at this point, but we got 11 Mutalisks on the way. A little bit of a slow opening, but the action has finally now begun. We get some Hellbats coming out instead of Widowmines. This is something we're kind of seeing become trending. This is certainly not by any means the most effective way to play this out, but by getting Hellbats instead of Widowmines, early on you guarantee that the Zerglings and the Banelings will do less damage to your Marines, and then the hope is that you can spread the Marines out enough to deal with the Mutalisks afterwards. But the Widowmines, you know, there's always the chance. A Widowmine can either do a lot of freaking damage to an ungodly amount, or it can do absolutely nothing. One link. Friendly fire your own Marines. Widowmines are a gamble when you go for them, whereas Hellbats are kind of this, I don't know, sure thing. They're not going to do as much as a Widowmine ever will, but they'll soak hits. They'll deal damage a little bit more effectively, and of course, they bring splash to the table, same as a Widowmine. Biggest downside is not being able to shoot up. But okay, Widowmine's being brought as he starts to advance forward here. We'll see if he continues to invest in them or if he keeps with the Hellbats. For now, though, can they get a couple good hits off? Unfortunately, the first one a bit of a dud, second one a bit of a dud. But with no Banelings to threaten the Marines, the Mutalisks cannot push forward into this. Banelings now finishing up, and they do have speed on creep. But again, the Hellbats need to be at the front lines. The Hellbats need to soak these, not the Marines. The Hellbat can take up with 3 Banelings, no problem. Heals up full and keeps on pushing. Hope surprisingly caught off guard by this. He's taking additional bases while this goes on, so giving up his third isn't the end of the world. But he's got no real way to engage into this. His army supply is half that of his opponents. You're supposed to be overwhelming a Terran player as a Zerg player, but the Hellbats get the job done, and it looks like good game will be called, and uThermal's push will be just a little bit too much for Vegas Squad.